Welcome to the Seed Creative Podcast, the podcast where we discuss both video production and just life in general. The goal of this podcast is the same as the goal of our business, to make a difference in people's lives. Hello and welcome back to the Seed Creative Podcast. This is George Edmondson and today's very special guest, Bryan Pope.
The emphasis, I really
It's
appreciate.
Bryan.
It is. Now it is, I'm sure. Yeah.
Everyone that listens to this, from now on, you are required to call Bryan.
I've been called worse. I can promise you that.
Yeah, I believe it. You're a teacher, right?
I formerly. Yes.
Formally,
Yeah.
so you've
Sort
probably
of-
been
sort of
called a
still
lot.
am.
Got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude. So I want to jump right into it. Tell us really quickly, the audience, who is Bryan Pope? Where do you come from? What do you do? And why are you here?
Okay. All right. First, let me go ahead and say, where is Christy?
That's good.
All right. And
That's good stuff.
secondly,
Nick Golden is over there dying laughing.
Did y'all win an Emmy for
We did.
a documentary recently?
He's
never had
good.
it.
I'm
Yes.
just saying, I see gold that's sort of blinding me off in the distance.
He's
there,
good.
so.
You got it in quick, dude. Good job.
You're the
Well,
best guest now. Hello,
thank you.
podcast producer voice from above. Yeah, great
He's
job.
not above. He's right over there. He's lying. He's right behind that camera.
I will say I'm a fan of Seed Creative and definitely a fan of the podcast. So I had to get those plugs in real quick.
Nick Golden appreciates you. You are now his favorite guest. Absolutely.
Well, thank you. All right. So about me, I guess, right? First of all, I am married to a wonderful woman. We've been together for, I don't know how far back you want me to go, but anyway, we've been married for almost 20 years now.
Awesome.
So we started dating really young, 16, my 16th birthday. So anyway, Jennifer is amazing. And we have 4 kids, too many, but can't decide which one to send back where we got them from. But right now, I guess we're going to keep all 4. And then I'm a teacher. I went to school for history with a minor in education. And then went into teaching history, worked at an alternative school for a long time, loved that experience, had some incredible kids that just needed a little bit better opportunities in life, I think. Gave me really good perspective on things. Then worked at a high school in Jefferson County and taught history, wanted to bring in technology as much as I could. Got the opportunity to then sort of change over to marketing, and that's where I really started delving into video and graphics. I started really going to YouTube initially just to learn myself, and in turn sort of fell in love with it, trying to learn it to teach it, but then it just became a passion.
When was this? What year would you say this was that you started, that you got that spark?
It's probably about 6 years ago.
Got it.
So I don't date me real quick.
2016.
There you go. So it was about then that I started teaching marketing. And initially it was really rough. We were using like iPhones and iMovie on the iPhones. And I got a chance, though, to credential students in Adobe. And so that really opened up my eyes a little bit broader to videography and photography. And so I just delve into it, and I loved it. I mean, the photography first, that's sort of a good place to start, and then graphics, because you don't have to have any raw materials to start with. And then finally got into video, and it was a tough road initially. Got a few students that just really tackled it and took it on, and I joined in and just worked with them. I've always said I'm not a very good teacher, but I love working with students. I love working with people. And I was very fortunate that I had a few students, quite a few students along the way that were just willing to jump on board and work hard. And I was right there with them.
So you went from history teacher to what would your title have morphed into?
Yeah, so I was a marketing teacher.
Marketing teacher.
Yeah.
Wow. And the school was just cool with that? You were like, was that your idea? You were like, hey, I want to do this? Or how did that work?
I have to huge credit out to my principal at Oak Grove High School, Pam Dennis. she's the one that really pushed me in that direction.
Good.
She
Yeah.
came to me and she was like, "Hey, I see that you're credentialed to this. We want to offer more opportunity for our students. Would you be willing to take this on?" And her and the person that was over career tech just really gave me a lot of freedom and opportunity. And Pam really prompted me along the way. Like, she would come to me and say, "Hey, we want to do this." She would have a lot of the vision, and then I'd say, "All right, we're going to figure out how to do it." And
Yeah.
so we just started creating really great things that, a former student of mine recently that I'm still good friends with, he recently said that it like transformed the environment of the school in
Yeah.
a lot of ways. And so not necessarily credit to me, it was credit to the program and to the students
Sure.
at large. But from there, I started doing a little bit of my own stuff here and there, mostly just testing my skills,
Yep.
mainly for the purpose of being able to teach my students. And so reached out to this guy that did wedding videos, and I was like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. I would love to edit a wedding for you just to see, like, are my skills actually valuable, and what I'm teaching the students, is that actually of value?"
Right.
And so he let me do that. I ended up leaving that school for a few reasons, none of which had anything to do with the school itself. The students were incredible. The staff was incredible. I just had another opportunity that I couldn't turn down, and so I ended up going to Shelby County Schools, which is where I currently work. And there I taught marketing again, and I had an opportunity to do a side project with the school system before I got in. Well, that was enough money for me to buy my own camera.
Yeah, man.
bought a computer, and because before I was just working with my program stuff, and I was working for free if I did anything on the side. And so this really opened up the door for me to go into my program with camera, because I was starting a new program at Calera High School. Had never had anything like this before. And so I started off with my personal camera, my current job, that department's camera. And so we went in and started creating stuff right off the bat. Hype videos is what we sort of started off with, and students were going crazy. We would show these hype videos at pep rallies, and literally you couldn't hear the music in the
Kids
video.
are just loving it.
They were going crazy. So
That's so fun, dude. It's always fun when you create something and then you get to see reactions in real time, knowing like they have no idea what's coming next. You know where the edits are coming. So it's always kind of weird, because like sometimes when you do it so much and you do it yourself, it doesn't lose its value, but it's like, you know what's coming. So it's like when you see someone see it for the first time, it wells up inside, especially if they react positively. I mean, we can talk about negative too, but when they react positively, it absolutely makes you feel like, wow, like there's purpose in what I'm doing. I love what I do. I want to go back and touch on something super quickly. Just from our own experience, we work a lot with West Alabama Works, a workforce development wing of the Chamber of Commerce here in Tuscaloosa. And what you're saying is something that has just been kind of evident with them, but throughout, I feel like there has absolutely been a shift probably in the last 4 years where people are starting to take things like what you teach a lot more seriously as a career pathway. Because I noticed you said something about career tech and stuff like that. Like it used to be when I was younger, it felt like it was all about get your core classes done, go to college, and then you'll figure it all out. But I definitely think that there's been a shift lately within the school system and within just educators' mindsets of like, we're going to teach what we're supposed to teach, but we're also going to start really pushing like what you do, these other options, other opportunities, other pathways. And I don't know, man, like I feel like what you were saying earlier, within the school systems that embrace stuff like this, the culture there seems more positive for some reason. I don't know why that is, but I guess I want to echo what you're saying and shine some light and some praise on people like West Alabama Works and people that are wanting to push video and photo and the arts and stuff like that in the school system.
Yeah,
That's really awesome.
I'm very fortunate that the times that, or the time frame that I've been in the school system, career tech has been highlighted and focused on. It doesn't have the same persona that it once had.
Right.
I think the value's always been there, but the perception hasn't.
That's it. Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
And so the students that I've been able to work with, I mean, so many of those students did not ever see video production or photography or even graphic design as a legitimate pathway for them. Not because they didn't have the skills, but because they never had the experience.
Yeah.
And so the programs that I was able to be a part of, as well as the programs that I even currently work with, which I'll get to probably in a little while, but those programs really are needed for these students. I mean, these are students that, maybe college is their path, but they don't know what they're going to do in college.
Right.
Or maybe college isn't their path, and now they're finding out that, hey, this is an option that I can, relatively quickly begin to make money with huge opportunities of growth. The creative field in general it has a little bit of a low entry point.
It does.
But the sky's the limit, as Seed Creative, I would say, is quite the example of.
Yeah.
So anyway, from there, I worked with that program, grew it, got an opportunity to move into administration for a little while, and I thought, well, this is it. I guess I'm done with that path. I guess I'm going to do administration at a school. And then from there, I was in administration for 2 months, and then I got the opportunity to take on the job that I currently serve as.
And what is that role again?
So I currently serve as the digital media specialist for Shelby County Schools.
Got it.
So basically, I create social media content, web content, for the school district at large. So it's really just a dream job.
So you're similar, and your story and my story are very similar in so many ways. I fortunately got a little bit of a jump start. I started my kind of experience in trying to do this and everything in 2014. So I was a couple years ahead of you.
Yeah.
But
so this is what I can expect in a couple of years?
In 2 years, dude. 2 years.
I'm
You'll
there.
You'll have a big metal sign and everything.
That's what I want.
So I grew a lot of my knowledge through YouTube. And even in 2014, the difference between 2014 and especially now, but I would say the difference 2014 to 2017, 2018 is when YouTube really started embracing tutorials and teaching and stuff. There wasn't a lot on YouTube, but it was enough for me to see there's other people doing this. Here's how to change ISO on a Canon camera, the basics. And I know that you have a similar story too, with understanding that YouTube has all of the knowledge that you need essentially to at least get going. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, about your experience with YouTube and how YouTube has helped you in your path to where you are now as a video creator, content creator, whatever you want to label yourself.
Yeah, definitely. So like I said, whenever I first started, it was me trying to learn to be able to teach. So I was literally going in the next day trying to figure out, okay, this is what we've got to be able to do. So we've got to learn to do that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I've been able, with career tech, it's a lot of project-based learning. So I didn't necessarily have to go in the next day and regurgitate exactly what I was learning on YouTube. I got to go in and just hands-on demonstrate and even perform with students those kind of skills that we were learning. So, but no, I went straight to YouTube. My wife would probably say that I've spent way too many hours on YouTube over the years. But it's just amazing being able to, and I've heard this recently, that YouTube is the second largest search engine.
It is.
So that's the way I was using it. It was I need to know how to change ISO. I need to know how to get correct white balance. I need to know, just manual control of a camera in general. Yep. Well, I went to YouTube and I searched that up. There's tons of names that I'm sure we both would recognize as the people on YouTube that really helped us along that journey and made it more interesting to watch, not
Yep.
just simply reading a PDF file or something like that. But it's been huge for me. I also would use that in the classroom because I tried to tell students, again, I'm not a great teacher. I was never great at standing up in front of them and being an orator. Is that the right orator? Orator.
Is orator right, Nick Golden?
Yes.
Okay.
So
He's the smartest one here.
I was never great at that. So for me, it was one of those things that I just felt like, why spend time telling the student what I've learned off of YouTube instead of just directing them, hey, go to YouTube and learn it, so that I could empower those students to then be able to do the same thing next time they come across something that I'm not there for, if they have another question down the road. I think I'm still answering your question.
You are.
Okay. But the big thing is that YouTube has played an integral part of teaching me the skills that I've learned. Of course, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't finally get your hands dirty a little bit.
Sure.
And so I was very fortunate that I had access to, we started off with Nikon 6400s, I think was what they were. So, you're talking some really entry level DSLRs. And even still, I shoot on relatively entry-level mirrorless cameras. But you've got to be able to get your hands on those and manipulate those controls so that you really can not just know it, but really learn it and then be able to use it. And so I've been super fortunate and very blessed to have the job that I have now, as well as the other stuff that I do outside of work.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to take a quick moment to say there's construction work happening beside us. So if you hear beeping, we do apologize, but that's just part of being, in a studio surrounded by other buildings and things going on. But I want to say this. We're giving a lot of credit to YouTube, and I know what you mean by this, but I want to articulate and clarify what I mean, what we both mean. YouTube obviously is just a platform. So if not for the people that were willing to go on YouTube, create the content and share, it's the people that we really appreciate. It's the action behind that. And then YouTube is just the facility, the way that they get it out to the world. You are also using YouTube as one of those people. And I know that one of your goals very lines up with our goals, and that is that you want to make content that can inspire others, maybe that are younger than you, maybe that are your same age, maybe that are older than you. It doesn't matter, but I want to make content that's going to touch someone and motivate them, encourage them, inspire them, and maybe they'll say, I saw this guy on YouTube, he's doing great things, I want to do great things, and then that's their spark. We both are very like-minded in that sense. You sent me a video about starting your channel. And as soon as I saw it, I think I was like 30 seconds in, I messaged you.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you got to come on the podcast. Like, that you are doing what others did before you. And it's almost like if they hadn't done it, you might not be doing what you do.
Definitely.
So I want you to talk a little bit about, I hope I didn't give too much of it away, but the why. Obviously, you're making content. You have a job. You don't have to do that. You don't have to make a YouTube channel. You don't have to do the podcast you're doing. Why are you doing it?
All right. Well, first of all, I'm like I said before, I've learned a lot off of YouTube, and the people, like you mentioned before, there's tons of people that have put themselves out there, and I've heard over and over again from those people, like, go create.
Yep.
Cody Warner is one that he's constantly telling people, he even started the whole, no small creator thing. He's telling people all the time, just start.
Just do it.
Just get out there and do it.
That's it.
And for so long, I remember back in 2016, 2017, maybe 2018, somewhere in that range, watching these guys and then thinking, I want to do that. I want to document my journey.
Yep.
Not to become like this YouTube famous person, but for multiple reasons, one of which being that I would love to have that journey to revisit at some point.
Absolutely.
secondly, it's one of those things you forget what you've learned at times. And so now I have, being a teacher, being still involved in the school system, I have people that I'm trying to teach and trying to help along that path. It'd be really easy, or it'd be a lot easier, let me say that, if I had a path to actually reference, like an actual documented path, rather than just simply me telling them, oh, I think this is how I did it. So, so that's, I live with a little bit of regret in that sense that I'd waited so long to start this. And that's one thing that I've documented, at least in my releasing of my YouTube channel. But definitely it's a difficult weight to bear, in the sense, I say difficult, not very, I'm not suffering by any means, but it's challenging in the sense that I wish I would have started earlier. But I have started now.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do with my channel, at least, is I'm trying to specifically target, or at least communicate to, the people that are in the realm that I'm in now. So I work technically with school PR. In school PR, there's a huge need for videography. There's a huge need for photography. And those are the people that I'm trying to see, all right, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've learned. These are the skills that I have. Let me share those with you so that you can then go and tell your own stories. I've been doing that with teachers and schools and classes. So part of my role that I currently serve in, I also work with high school classes that are digital media classes. And so I go and I visit, I teach the teachers how to do these kind of things, and then help them teach their students. Yeah. If that makes sense. And then, and so that same kind of lessons and instruction, I'm trying to bring to YouTube for people that aren't just in Shelby County schools, but maybe even much further than that.
I love that you mentioned referencing back. This is like a byproduct. And it's funny because you recognize that now. It took me a while to recognize the exact same thing. It was definitely a byproduct, but I would start seeing questions from people seeking answers. Like, what should I do? Like, how do I get more involved, locally with my local businesses and things like that? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've done a podcast about that. Hey, here you go. Like, watch this video. I don't have to tell them again. I don't have to shoot them a message, or anything, because again, you and I are very similar. I want to help. So when I see them, I'm like, man, it'd be great if I've already just recorded this, backlogged, and just send it. And that was a byproduct. But I started realizing, like, dude, I'm sending these podcasts out all the time for different things. A lot of times it's the one we did with our CEO of our Chamber of Commerce. And I just send it to people, and I'm like, just listen to this and go get involved with your chamber. And if you get involved and you play your cards right, you will start getting business, because that's what they do. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think that's a really cool aspect of what we do. And again, just to document it, I go back and look now, dude. It brings tears to my eyes for two reasons. It's so painful to watch, but also it's like, wow, look how far I've come in the sense that I think it's still the most viewed video on our YouTube channel is the very first tutorial I ever made.
Wow.
And it was, it's so bad. It is me teaching people how to get high quality videos onto Instagram.
Yeah.
By shooting or by editing in Final Cut. And this, I think I released it a week or two after Instagram started even letting videos be hosted. The tutorial's so bad, but it's funny because I go watch it and I'm like, dude, now we get to make tutorials. We're working on some right now, actually, for the biggest, greatest, baddest plug-in developer for Final Cut Pro. We get to do that on like a weekly basis. Yeah. So it's a weird feeling, but like, again, YouTube, that platform allowed me to upload that, and I didn't know 8 years ago or 7 years ago, when I uploaded it, like, dude, you're going to be getting to do this, and do a lot of stuff. So, I've got two things. Number one, you mentioned before we started recording, you said there's one thing that I really want to talk about, or a question you had.
It was the Emmy and
Oh,
Christy.
you did it. Okay, great. I'm glad you did it.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to make sure because I didn't want to forget.
Yes, yeah.
Nick Golden, you've been over there listening. I know that there were some ideas and thoughts that you had. You can cut this out of the podcast, but there were a few maybe other talking points that you had because I know I tend to forget things sometimes. I don't want to forget what you had mentioned.
Well, first of all, I want to chime in and say you have 31.6 thousand views on that Instagram tutorial. I just checked.
So it's not the most viewed now.
No, it is.
Oh, it is?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We don't push our YouTube channel. That's the other funny thing is like we put stuff out there, but we don't promote it. We don't push it a lot.
Yeah.
We use it more for like, honestly, like we have thousands of videos on there, but like almost all of them are unlisted because we use them for client review.
Yeah.
And archive.
Can I bring up just before Nick
Go ahead.
asks whatever prompts he's got?
Sure.
So you asked earlier sort of why am I doing this?
Yeah.
There is one reason that sort of got me recently motivated to do this more so than in the past. And it's actually I'm thankful that it's today that we're doing this. Now, obviously, this probably isn't going to go out today, I would imagine. But as of the day that we're recording this is actually the day that we're launching our podcast. Me and a couple of friends.
Awesome.
And that podcast, those friends are probably the main reason that I finally did what I've been saying for so many years that I want to do. So the podcast is actually centered around the idea of 3 creatives trying to become creators.
Ooh.
So the idea is that all 3 of us are in some, in some spectrum, we're beginning our YouTube channels, and so we're encouraging each other, we're challenging each other, we're like pointing out each other's shortcomings and flaws, and so it's been a huge encouragement. But those 2 guys specifically, so the podcast is called Creating Creators Podcast, and it's going to be on YouTube as well as Spotify and Apple. We're using Anchor. I don't know what y'all use, but
exactly what we do.
Yeah, it's a great option. So anyway, we're using Anchor, and what we do is we meet at my house in my office, and we record a podcast where a lot of times we're sitting there and we make decisions about the podcast, like we did the second episode is our logo design.
Right.
And so the 3 of us design a logo, and then we talk about them, and then we pick one, and that becomes our logo.
I love it.
And then also we watch each other's videos, and we're like, man, this was really great. This is where you need to improve. And it's been, I mean, literally, I've had my feet held to the fire by these guys, because it's like, all right, next week you got to have an episode shot that you can share with us, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
and then
hold you accountable.
It's been amazing. So Jacob Blankenship and Tyler Downey are the 2 guys that I do this with, and they've just been phenomenal and just great friends.
That's an interesting concept because you're literally putting people in the creative process. That is something that I think is very important for people listening that have not started yet and kind of feel like I don't know where to start. Just like you were saying, you like just get started. What some of these listeners, what some of you that are listening right now might not understand is that the creative process for people in the position that I'm in at Seed Creative, where we're running, multiple people, we're doing multiple projects, we're working with high-end clients. The creative process looks exactly the same for us when we're working on 6-figure deals as it does when we're literally thinking about how are we going to shoot the podcast next week, and we're not making any money on it. So I think it's really cool to show people what the creative process looks like. I have not seen or heard a full episode of your podcast yet, but I will go ahead and say whatever y'all are doing, that's what it looks like for everyone in the world, the creative process.
The first couple episodes look pretty rough.
That's it, dude.
It's a learning
curve. It's always
curve,
rough,
definitely.
bro.
Yeah.
Like it's all creative processes are rough at the beginning. You're like, I don't know. You just start throwing crap at the wall and see if it sticks. You know what I mean? It's like, what's going to work? What's not going to work? Oh, that's a terrible idea. That's a great idea. And slowly it kind of morphs into this thing. And then you've got this video on the back end and all these people, you know, hopefully you did a good job, start saying like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. Like, how do you think of these things? And it's like, what they don't realize is it looked horrible when we started.
Yeah.
This is not what I want. It's a perceptive thing. It's a perception. I don't want people to look at this well-polished final video and think that you just come up. I snapped my fingers if you wondered what that sound was. It just came out of nowhere. Like, it does not come out of nowhere. This junk takes time. It takes effort. It does not happen overnight. It's like, yeah. So I commend y'all on that, and that's a great concept for a podcast.
Well, thank you.
I think it's going to do very well.
It's been fun to do. It's been a great encouragement. Like I said, podcasts like yours. You know, it's. I'm very fortunate to be sitting here right now because I know that. I mean, I've watched your podcast. I watched your April Fools. Like a few years back.
Yeah, dude.
And that was incredible. And so I've been encouraged by your content. I've been encouraged by those creators like we talked about, like Cody Warner, and so I'm. It's finally culminated in me stepping forward and actually creating some content. It's rough.
Yeah.
You invited me on this after 30 seconds. You probably should have watched the full one and waited to watch a few others. But it's, you know, it's the process. It's us learning. It's us growing. It's us improving.
I didn't need to watch the full thing to know that it would be worth it, and I think it has. This has been a great conversation. Nick Golden, you had an idea, and then we cut you off. I apologize.
No, it's okay. I'm gonna ask kind of like the big overarching question, which is, so you touched on a little bit, but like something that we talk about here a lot in the studio, and it's in the intro to our podcast, is making a difference in people's lives. Like I don't feel like I hear a lot of people talk, or enough people talking about that in general. Like, how did you find that as like a passion? You know what I'm saying? Like you just kind of started saying like, this is how I've always been, but like, what got you to that place? Do you have an answer to that? I mean, it's like deep, but
well, so there's a couple of ways that I would answer that question. First of all, I was very fortunate that when I was a teenager, I had a great group that I hung out with, specifically through church. I was in a very active youth group that there was a lot of positive peer pressure. In some ways that led to things maybe we didn't need to do. For instance, I started preaching when I was 14, which
Nice.
in hindsight, I'm like, why would anyone listen to a 14-year-old? Heck, why would anyone listen to a 38-year-old?
How old was Jesus at his first?
I was gonna say, yeah.
Wasn't he like 11 or something?
I don't think you can equate me and Jesus even.
Hey, that's probably fair.
But yeah, so I would say that those values that I learned then was just really instrumental in who I am now. And I would say, I alluded this or spoke about this earlier, the time that I spent at the alternative school as a teacher there, it's really amazing to get to see students that, a lot of times these students were students that whenever they walked into their teacher's classroom at their base school, their teacher's eyes rolled. You know, they could visibly see that they were a bother to their teacher. And then they got to come to my class, got the opportunity to, in some cases. I mean, they were there for a reason, most likely. But they got to walk in fresh. You know, it wasn't, I didn't have this perception of them that their base school had of them. And a lot of times the students that were the quote unquote like most troublesome students at their base school were some of my best students. And so I got to see just opportunity.
Yeah.
And I got to see hope in kids that probably a lot of people didn't have much hope for. Now, at the same time, I've been guilty of the same thing as a teacher in the general classroom, even at the alternative school at times. I think it's, you know, it's hard to look past the tip of your nose sometimes. But when you can step back and see a really difficult situation, but be able to see past that situation to the opportunities that lie ahead, I think you're blessed by that. And so I've been blessed by a lot of opportunities to see hope in situations that maybe might not always seem very hopeful. You said you went deep. I think I may have taken it to another.
No,
deepness,
you went. That's wonderful. Again, how similar our stories are is remarkable. So go all the way back to the beginning of this podcast. My wife and I have been together for 20 years. As a matter of fact, 21 years. We've been married for 16 of those years.
Oh wow, yeah. So
and we have 4 kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I started dating her.
Twins,
I started dating her when I was 15 years old. She's my first real girlfriend.
Yeah,
like
right
met her in youth group, met her at church.
Yeah, we went to different high schools, so we met.
Same here.
Group.
She
went to each other's prom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a funny story. I haven't told this story before, but Christy and I were actually broken up at the time, but it was like,
Shame.
I'm not going to get too deep into this, but it was like because of like our parents wanted us to break up, but we kind of like figured out how to sneak ways to each other's proms and stuff by going to prom with other people. And then when we met up, those people went to prom together and we went. Yeah, it was crazy.
Sneaky.
I know. It's kind of, I hope my kids don't listen and get ideas.
Bro, I know what the next podcast episode's about.
Oh,
there
no.
you go. Just their whole relationship, right?
Yeah,
just
dude.
from beginning to end.
But then also the finding opportunities for hope when things seem hopeless. I dealt with like grungy, low income, like drug riddled skateboarders in skateboarding ministry. So I did a ministry from when I was 19 to 29. So about a decade of hardcore skateboarding ministry up in McCalla, where I ran a skate park and we let kids just come and skate for free. And then I would build relationships with them. We would, do like a little mini kind of service, but it was more like that relational aspect of just getting to know these kids and understanding where they come from. And if nothing else, providing a clean, safe environment for them to come and get away from their family and the issues of life. So yeah, there's a lot of that. And all of that ties back into video. Is my first videos that I really found joy and passion in were creating skateboarding videos when I was like 13, 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
And so then it turned into my love for skateboarding was skateboarding ministry. And then my love for video kind of came back during the skateboarding ministry. And then my love for video was, shown through into where I did the video for the company I worked for. And then it turned into this now. So it's crazy how it all works out. But we have talked about it a lot on the podcast. We are very much like, we are Christians here. Not everyone that we talk to is Christians, of course, and we don't call ourselves a Christian podcast, but we are absolutely for that. So you talk about it as much as you want. Don't worry about that.
Well, I was going to say we also have another thing in common, and he would probably be ticked at me if I had this opportunity and didn't mention him. But Johnny LaFoy is actually who I first heard about you from,
and I ran his route on Cintas, which is the company I left for video
back in the day.
This is crazy.
Right? I know. So Johnny's still. I mean, I consider him probably one of my best friends.
That's awesome.
Has been since high school. We did a ministry team together years ago called Committed Ministries. I was preaching and he was doing music. And so he played guitar and sang. So
one of the
Johnny's
only stops I didn't mind making because I talked to him.
Oh, I can imagine. The two of y'all, just drums alone and,
dude.
and that kind of stuff would be incredible for y'all to get together.
That's awesome.
And talk.
Well, man, Nick, did you have anything else for us?
Yeah, he's got 2 very deep and important questions to answer.
Oh,
One,
sweet.
which is, what's your favorite movie? Or a favorite movie?
All right, so
be honest.
No, this is one of this is definitely.
Do you know what George's was?
What was that?
His George's favorite movie
Like
that
Dumb
he
and
listed
Dumber?
was Dumb and
Yeah.
Dumber.
Oh, no.
It was Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Because
Don't
I'm
get me
being
wrong.
honest, bro.
Yeah.
It makes me happy.
No,
it's a
one
funny
of mine,
movie.
Life is Beautiful.
I don't know that one.
Not It's a Beautiful Life, but Life is Beautiful. It's actually an Italian Holocaust movie, and it's just incredible. It's the guy that's in it.
You know that one? Nicholas Coker. He flipped around. He's editing something. He's like, I know that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen this. I saw this in a class. Yeah, I love this movie.
It's such a great movie. I was on a big Holocaust movie kick for a while. The Pianist, Jacob the Liar, if you've ever seen Robin Williams' Holocaust movie.
Ooh.
I know. It really makes it interesting when you're in the movie theater and the film burns up midway, like about 75% through the movie. And you think, like, all right, World War III has now happened inside this film. So, but anyway, Life is Beautiful is just a tearjerker at times. You laugh, you cry, you value your family even more so. So just a great, especially as a dad, great movie to watch. Great movie to watch. You'll cry, I promise you.
Oh, I cry at most movies.
Even Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Different kind of crying. Yeah. But no, that's probably, there's another one that I it's like on the back of my brain. I can't quite pull forward, but that one's probably the one that I would put out there.
Yeah.
So my wife and I have watched that a few times together and love it.
So do you have any separate recommendation, or is that your recommendation also? Because that is a great answer. Because I totally forgot about that movie.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would recommend that movie to anyone to watch it. It's just a great film, great lessons to learn in it, morals, everything's just phenomenal. But there's one thing I always try to tell my students whenever I was in the classroom regularly, and even still whenever I get around students, or even my own kids, or even adults, it would be one of those things that, and I think my life is an example of this. I always find something that you love doing and just do it.
Yeah.
If possible, make money doing it, but do it regardless.
Yeah.
And that's I would be doing videos at my house with my kids. I've done a few. My son's got a little YouTube channel. We've put some bits on there that he and my daughter have done, just acting for me. We would be doing that kind of stuff, even if I wasn't doing this for a full-time job. So I love it.
We do too. That's why we do it.
There you go.
Dude, thank you so much, Bryan Pope. Tell us
you
one
didn't
more
say it
time,
right. You didn't say
Bryan Pope. Bryan Pope. So you're Creating Creators podcast.
Yes.
And as of today,
we're launching at 5 p.m. today.
Yeah. So that means that you're ready. You can go watch it. You can go listen right now.
Oh, yeah.
So go look it up. Give them some love. Like and subscribe to them, but only after you've liked and subscribed to the Seed Creative podcast.
Of course.
And that's it. You already got all the Emmy stuff out of the way, so I don't even have to
true.
say it. That's it.
True.
That was
And
incredible.
Is Christy coming in now?
She's not. All right, we're out of
Next
here.
time.
Take it easy. This podcast was produced by Nick Golden with executive producer George Edmondson, edited by Nick Golden and Gavin Manning. Be sure to subscribe, drop a like and a comment. Tune in every Monday for brand new podcast content, and we'll see you on the next one.